includes radio and TV. She was the news anchor, hosted a talk show on TV, and then she joined our ranks in the learning and development section of HR and has served in a number of different roles in leadership development and diversity and inclusion, and even including an international assignment to Europe for a few years. What I appreciate about BJ is her willingness to give back. She volunteers in a number of different roles with nonprofits, including the SHRM board here locally in Oklahoma City, served for a number of years in that, and now is on the ATD board. So we appreciate her being here and appreciate her title in particularly. It's going to be rather shocking to, at 8:30 in the morning, to face the naked truth. Join me in welcoming BJ.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Thank you, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Very good. That's the first test, right? Okay, so I'm excited to be here to talk to you guys this morning about today's workplace and some of the people who are in it. But first, as the book title says, break all the rules. So I'm going to break a rule because even before I tell you what my agenda is, I'm going to share with you a short video clip. It is about one group of workers, a new breed of workers they're called, who has arrived on the scene and they've taken center stage. Yes, you guessed it, it's the millennials. All right, so I'm breaking the rules because I pulled this video out of order in my presentation because I wanted to start off with a comic note. This is a comedy, so please don't be offended. It's a comedy, and it's a spoof of a training video for people who supervise millennials. So let's see if we can enjoy this training guide for people who supervise millennials.
So, Marathon Industries, give me a breakdown.
It's a B2B company that provides cloud storage for Fortune 500 companies.
Chet, what did the market research turn up?
What? Oh, I Googled them, but the results were weird.
You didn't use the market research database that we spend thousands of dollars a month on, and that you were specifically trained to use.
I quit. This job is different than I thought it would be.
Stop. Does this situation look familiar? A new type of worker has entered the workforce. They're called millennials, and they're terrible. Today, I'm going to teach you all about this new breed of worker, so you can avoid misunderstandings in which you feel the need to fire them immediately. In the first reimagination we just saw, Mary makes the classic mistake of not reassuring Chet while offering overflowing amounts of praise.
Chet, you were so smart to use Google. That's the perfect way to start the research. You're so smart.
Great job.
So the conference call is scheduled for 10:30, so that we're on the same page. Let's do a pre-call about 9:30 a.m.
I don't understand. Noodles. Or not 9:30?
Cheryl Sandberg here isn't aware time exists before 10:30 a.m. To her generation, there's a mysterious dead zone after 4 a.m. and before they stroll into work 40 minutes late with their iced coffee. So take that into consideration for scheduling.
It's very difficult for me.
Fine, I'll take the call myself.
Oh, thank you.
Nailed it.
Here's that report that you asked for.
Thanks.
Morgan did exactly what was asked of her. Nothing more, nothing less. She expects a raise and promotion.
Thanks. Junior Executive Manager of Data Consulting.
Is that better than assistant manager of junior accounts?
Yes.
Oh my god, thank you. I'm gonna go call my parents.
Now you're getting it.
I need to take work off tomorrow for a mental health day.
Did you know millennials can actually be exceptionally creative with reasons why they need to miss work? These eccentric excuses are normal to them, and they will be to you too.
Sure, that's a normal thing.
Hi, I know I only get 10 days paid vacation, but that wouldn't count a 3-week Argentinian surf spirit quest, right?
No, why would it?
Oh.
Why don't you go home early today?
That's it. Any questions? Why even hire millennials? Oh, right. Well, millennials comprise 19% of the workforce. If none of them worked and their parents supported them, it would cripple our economy, and China would take over. So unfortunately, it's your civic duty to employ them. Trust us, we want to fire them all too, but we can't.
Okay. So, to me, that's one of the most hilarious training videos I've ever seen. All right, so the millennials are here, and we better take notice. Now, what am I going to talk to you about this morning? First of all, I'm going to share with you what I mean when I say the new world of work. I'll share some characteristics. Then I have selected 5 naked truths. There are many more, but I just selected 5 based solely on my own bias and nothing more. I will tell you why they matter and what you as employers can do about them. Now, normally we ask people to put their smart devices away, but today I would like you to take out your smartphone or tablet or whatever smart device you have, because we're going to be doing some live polling. Throughout the presentation, I have some national statistics, and I would love to take the pulse of this room to benchmark against those statistics. This will be anonymous, so I'm asking you to please answer these questions honestly. I really do want to know what's going on with you and what you think about these things. There will be one more short video clip to illustrate one of the points that I'm making. And then I'll share with you a couple of true stories. When you're in HR for more than 25 years, boy, do you have stories. So it'll be all I can do to contain myself and not tell all the stories I think of. But I'll tell you some stories either from my HR career or from my current practice as a human capital consultant and certified professional coach. So we'll do that. And in your handouts, you have the slides that have data on them in case you want to refer to them later on. Okay, so let's talk about this new world of work. 7 characteristics, again, there are many more, but these are the ones I chose. Advanced digital technologies. I think we can all agree that technology has changed not only the way we work, but the content of our work. We all know some jobs that don't exist anymore. The computers are doing the things that are most routine, but what that means is there's a greater need for those soft skills like interpersonal skills, for example. There's a greater need for those that computers can't do, and maybe I should say can't yet do, because I'm sure somebody's working on trying to make a computer do soft skills, don't you think? All right, so it's almost like it's created a conflict between machines and talent, unfortunately. But that certainly has changed our workplace. Now, one good thing that the technology development has done is given us a lot more options for flexibility about where we work, how we work, when we work, and with whom we work. Because in fact, we do have a global workplace that's always on and connected. So if you need tech support or if you want customer service in some cases, you can get that 24/7 because somewhere in the world, a customer service rep is on the clock and ready to take your call anytime. We also have a global market of customers and suppliers and partners. Now, this is a diverse group, but it's unified because we're working across time zones, we're working across cultures, we're working across continents. I knew there was another C, continents. So this is something that the technology has enabled us to do. Now, the next couple of points sort of refer to our millennials we were introduced to earlier. And this one is the short-term approach to career choices. No longer do we choose a career or an employer for a lifetime. The younger worker comes into the workplace letting you know they have no intention of staying here 20 years, and they know they're going to have multiple careers in a lifetime. They are trying to avoid a phenomenon I see in my coaching practice all the time, and that is people feeling like they are stuck in a career that they wish they could get out of. And you might ask, how did this happen? Well, you remember when you were in college and you didn't have a clue what you wanted to do for your life's work, so you had to declare a major. So you picked one, you got that major, you got educated in that, you got a degree, then if you were lucky you got a job in that field. So of course you wanted to advance in the field, so you got more education, more degrees, more certifications, and you advanced further in the field. And before you realized it, you had 7 or 10 years in this industry, and you're thinking, this is not my passion. This isn't really what I want to do, but it will cost me too much. I've got too much invested now to shift and start all over in a new career field. So the younger workers are showing us they're coming in knowing they're not going to do that. Another thing that's a little bit different is individual branding. Do you remember the time when a person would be proud to say, I work at IBM, I work at this university, I work for the state, I work for this nonprofit. People used to brand themselves by their employers. But now, I am my own brand. It's all about me. I'm at some company right now, but 6 months or a year from now, who knows? So when I'm branding myself. If you look out on the web, you'll notice that, particularly with the younger workers. And finally, maybe we should thank the millennials for calling to our attention this need for work-life balance. The younger worker is telling you, as important as my work is, it's only one facet of my life, and I do want the others as well. But I think what we're seeing now is mature workers like myself are saying, oh my gosh, I have sacrificed way too much time from my marriage, from my family, from my avocation, oh my goodness. And even when you get to my age, you start noticing some of those physical symptoms, some of which are related to workplace stress. So even we realize, oh my gosh, we really need to have some work-life balance. So those are the 7 characteristics that I chose that reflect the new world of work today. All right, what about these 5 naked truths? The first naked truth is many Americans daily live in fear of losing their jobs. I want to poll this audience about that. So if you would send a text, you're going to send it to 22333. That's the recipient. And the message is BJ Glover 895, all together, it's not case sensitive. BJ Glover 895. If you will send that message to 22333, it will put you in my question area here. All right, and I'm going to activate this poll. So please answer, how likely do you think it is that someone in your organization will be laid off or fired in the next year? Not for cause, I mean because of a reduction in force or an organizational restructure, something that is not the person's fault. Yeah, you already answered. Please answer A, if it's very likely, B, somewhat likely. I need to give you some more time, don't I? That 30 seconds went crazy. Not at all likely. Wow. Okay, so we can see that a number of people in this room already know that this might possibly happen. Well, here's the next question. How concerned are you that you yourself may be fired or laid off next year? How concerned are you that it might be you? We have about 30 seconds left to answer that question. We have a lot of job security in this room. I'm impressed. Okay. We have a few seconds left. You've got to hang it now. You're voting so fast now. We don't need that much time. Wow, not at all concerned. I am shocked by that, and pleasantly. Okay, Well, let's see how that compares. Gallup said that 1 in 3 workers worry a lot about being fired or laid off. And then we see this article in the Washington Post that said 60% of workers say they're scared they'll lose their jobs. Now, the literature tells us that this is usually more pronounced in the lower level positions. But let me tell you, just a few months ago, I was in a meeting with a vice president, someone I have worked with in the past for about 15 years, so I know this person. And we were talking about doing a special project. And he said, my boss, who is a woman who's in another state at corporate headquarters, my boss loves these kind of projects, but right now, she and I are waiting to see if we're still going to have a job. Because you see, his company was going through a merger, and so they were going from one functional area to the next, deciding which company's team they would keep. So even though he was a vice president and his boss was a senior vice president, they were both waiting to see if they still had a job. So it's not just at the lower levels. Maybe it's more prevalent there, but not only there. Why does this matter? Well, Dr. van der Elst, who is a Belgian professor, researcher, said that it's not good to have job insecurity because it keeps people from being able to be creative and to be their most productive. I know there are some theories that say a little bit of job insecurity is probably good because it'll make people work harder to keep their jobs, but he disagrees. Job insecurity affects a lot of factors. First of all, performance. As Dr. van der Elst said, a person can't give you their best performance if they're worried about their job. Also, turnover intention. People will start to look for other jobs, even if it's a just-in-case action, they'll start to do that. You'll see more absenteeism. They may be absent because they have a job interview somewhere else. People start to get physical and mental health problems when they're worried about the security of their job. And then those of us who are workaholics and overachievers and all that might experience burnout because we start to question, should I be giving so much to a job that may not be here next year? Predictably, job satisfaction would go down, and then we know that our safety metrics are affected when people are not fully focused on the work. We see more injuries and more accidents. And the literature also tells us that actually the dread of possibly becoming unemployed can actually be worse than the reality of being laid off. So this is why you don't want that air of job insecurity in your workplace. Now, what can you do about it? Let me share with you an intervention I did back in, I want to say 2009 or so, when there was a downturn in business. The managers came to us in HR saying, listen, our people are asking us all these questions about how safe their jobs are, and we don't know what to tell them because, frankly, we don't know how safe our own jobs are. So it had reached a serious level, the concern in the workplace. So what we did was we pulled all of the managers off-site for 4 hours from 2 locations, here and in Kansas. So we had half of them come in the morning, the other half in the afternoon. What we did was, when we pulled them together, we told them the naked truth about what was going on in the business, what some of the risks were that we were dealing with, and some possible scenarios that could play out. Then we gave them the opportunity to anonymously ask us questions. I passed out index cards, and so they were able to write on those cards their concerns, their questions, and even their feedback and comments. And we shared those openly in the meeting in front of those people. We also captured all of that in writing so we could share it later with the other group and vice versa. So the final thing we did was we gave them a message. We crafted a message for them to take to their employees. We prepared it, we went through it, and we gave it to them and authorized them to share that with their teams. And this is the first and only time I can think of that cascading worked. We tried communication cascading many times, and it never worked fully because there would always be some managers who never would tell their teams what we said. But this time, everyone went back to their teams with that information. So what happened? People were able to refocus on the job, and then their productivity came back to normal levels. And did we promise people that their jobs were safe? No, we couldn't promise them that. But what happened was we did actually have a few reductions, but it was a fraction of what we originally had expected it to be. So we got the best that you could expect out of that situation, and I believe it was because of the communication. So my recommendation is communicate, 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 and then be as transparent as possible. Because we know when we're in these tenuous situations, you can't actually disclose everything. There are some things you cannot tell the employee, but tell them what you can tell them. And then finally, equip your leaders to speak to their teams. That way, everyone is on the same page, and then they will have the confidence to address the concerns that the employees have. All right, so that was naked truth number 1. Naked truth number 2.
Take this job and shove it. I ain't working here no more.
Okay, that's exactly what 70% of Americans would like to say to their bosses. Take this job and shove it. That many Americans actually hate their jobs or are disengaged, according to a Gallup poll. And USA Today tells us that even all the perks we came up with, the little ping pong tables and free massages and catered meals, did not fix that. So here's my question to you. Are you disengaged enough to consider finding a new job right now or in the near future? And I don't mean would you take another job because it would advance your career, but would you take another job because you are that disengaged in your current job? Oh my goodness. My clock is not going easy. There we go. I gave you extra time on that one, so you can tell the truth. Let's see. It's almost half and half. It's not bad, but that's pretty significant that 46% of you would consider a new job because of disengagement. What does that tell us, Ray? The Harris Interactive Study says 74% of people in the American workplace would consider finding a new job today. So you're way better than them. Why does this matter? As I've said earlier, these soft issues have bottom line impact. You know, sometimes we think of the soft issues as not being that critical, but I assure you they are. If a person is dissatisfied or angry or bored on their job, their behavior might change. You can have lost productivity, people justify stealing from you, and they'll have more missed work days. This is how people behave, many people, when they feel this way. But what can you do about it? Well, the literature tells us that there are 4 core needs that people have. If, when they are met, they will be vastly more satisfied and productive. The first one is physical. I don't know how many people have tried this, but the suggestion is that if you take a short break every 90 minutes, you will be renewed and recharged. Your focus will increase 30%, your creativity will increase 50%, your health and well-being will increase 46%, and you'll be 100% more likely to stay. I cannot say I have tried this, but it sounds like an intriguing idea. The second need is an emotional need, and this is not rocket science. We already know this. People want to feel valued and appreciated. We know that when people leave a company, very often they leave their supervisor rather than leaving the company. So if a person has a supportive supervisor, it will make them 1.3 times more likely to stay, and they're 67% more engaged. Very significant. The third need is mental. The literature tells us that if people are able to focus in an absorbed way on the most important parts of their job, they will be more satisfied and productive. And what I mean by that is people are not pulled away by menial things that they think don't matter, trivial things that they think don't matter, unnecessary reports, politics, all the things that distract from the person doing the important part of their job. The second thing is people really like to have a say in when and where they work, especially the younger worker who's entering the workplace. They don't want to be evaluated by the number of hours their butt is in the seat. They want to be evaluated by the deliverables they produce for you. If they're the quality you want, they don't think it should matter where they were when they did the work or what hours they worked to do them. So that's another thing. And then finally, the spiritual lead. By this we mean that if people are able to do what they do best and what they enjoy, their satisfaction obviously will be higher and they'll be more productive. I can tell you personally, the best boss I ever had was a person who focused on assigning us the things that we were good at and the things that we enjoyed doing. It really did make a difference on how we viewed our jobs. Now, the third point is that if people feel they're connected to a higher purpose in their work, it also can transform their thoughts about a job. Here's a real life example. I worked at a manufacturing company, and there was another division, a different one than the one I was in, that built seats for vehicles. They built the seats that go in your car. And I've been to the plant, so it's an assembly line kind of situation. You know, the seat is here, and then it goes down the road. Somebody screws a screw on here to add something. Somebody adds this key, and it just goes all down the line until it's completed. Completely monotonous, repetitive job, as you might imagine. What happened was, one time a customer was in a very serious car accident. Her vehicle turned over multiple times, and she and her child were able to escape almost totally unharmed. She was so grateful. She wrote a thank you letter to the plant saying, "Thank you so much for building such a high quality seat in my car. It saved our lives." So the leadership was brilliant in that they shared that feedback with the employees, and beyond that, they made a big poster that hangs outside the plant. So every day as you enter the plant, you see a poster that says, "We make seats that save people's lives." So that person who is shooting screws is reminded, it's important for me to do a good job with that because it just might save somebody's life. So you can see how just a routine thing can become very meaningful to somebody. And this would make them 3 times more likely to stay. By the way, this was the highest single impact on the survey that they gave the people. Now, this next Make It True is one I really feel we don't take seriously enough, or perhaps we don't realize how serious an issue it is. And this is that 1 in 4 Americans are bullied at work. 25% of American businesses have some level of bullying in them, and about 11% of that bullying is against the customer. Imagine that. And in some industries, it's as high as 50 to 75%. So what is bullying? I think some of you will be surprised that certain behaviors constitute bullying. Because when I show them to you, you're going to say, "We do that stuff all the time." It's an unwanted recurring aggressiveness. It's not that one day you blew up because you were having a bad day. It's a recurring thing. And it can be targeted toward one person or more than one person. And usually there is some kind of psychological power imbalance, which may or may not be tied to a person's job title. So in your handout, you'll see this as well. I want you to pay attention because I'm going to ask you a question, as you might have guessed. There are 3 categories of bullying behavior. The first is aggressive communication. So we all know this one, where you shout and yell at people, insult them, and make offensive remarks. And by the way, all of these behaviors can be either commission or omission. So just like yelling at somebody is bullying, avoiding communicating with somebody can also be perceived as bullying. It can be face-to-face, in person, or it could be an email. The second category we're all familiar with is humiliation. This is where we deliberately try to ridicule someone. You might taunt somebody even in social media. And also you can ignore somebody and get the same effect of bullying. The third category is one that may be less familiar in terms of bullying, and that is manipulation of work. This is where a person in power will deliberately remove some important tasks from a person's job with the intention of making them feel demeaned and less valuable in their role. It could also be excessive micromanagement. It could be blocking somebody's raise or promotion that they've earned. So all of these things constitute bullying behavior. So my question to you is, have you, based on those definitions, have you ever been bullied at work? By the way, one of the most bullied roles is HR, ironically. And I can certainly say I have been bullied on more than one occasion throughout my lengthy career. All right, 69%, yeah, I think that's about right. That's about right. Here's the next question. Have you ever bullied someone else at work, either knowingly or unknowingly? I mean, it could be that you didn't realize the behavior was bullying. But based on the definition I gave you, have you ever bullied someone at work? Tell the truth, though. Well, we have a room full of angels in here. Good for you. Well, here's why it matters. It has a tremendous effect on people when they're bullied. One survey said that 48% of these bullied people intentionally decreased their work effort. 47% decreased the amount of time that they spent at work. 38% intentionally decreased the quality of their work. 80% lost work time worrying about the incident. 63% lost work time avoiding the offender. 66% said their performance declined. 78% said their commitment to the organization declined. And that's usually because a person becomes very resentful if they believe the company cannot or will not protect them during a bullying experience. 25% admitted to taking out their frustration on customers. 12% said they left their job because of the uncivil treatment. Let me tell you, bullying does not happen only at lower levels of an organization. I just coached a vice president who reached out to me. This is someone I worked with years ago, who's in another state, and he learned that I had retired and started consulting. He didn't even know I was a certified professional coach.